Hello, welcome to another episode of History in the Dark. I am your host, Darkness the Curse. And before we begin, as always, thank you so much to my generous patrons, my British rail critics, and of course, my underwater train finders. You are the reason why this content remains in the holiday spirit, and today we are going to discuss Christmas, or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa. I don't even care what holiday you're celebrating. It's the big holiday season where everybody's just like, yes, lights, presents, family get-togethers, ooh, on the last one. But anyway, we're going to talk about 5 Christmas trains to celebrate this season. The Chicago Transit Authority Holiday Train. This train is a Chicago L train, which traditionally runs during the winter holidays from November to December. It consists of 6 cars, and they're just regular old passenger subway cars, but they're adorned with a whole bunch of decorations and bright lights, which is generally how these trains go. It's usually just a regular old train, but the locomotive and the cars are all decked out to celebrate the holidays. The interior of the cars are decorated too, with multicolored lights, red bows, garland, the whole shebang. Even the hand poles are decorated to look like candy canes, and Santa Claus rides on an open-air flatcar, and he waves to passengers coming aboard from his sleigh. This practice began in 1992, and that first year, employees posted a sign on the front of the train that read, "Season's Greetings from the CTA." The train actually delivered food to various charities around the city, and since then, the decorations have become a lot more elaborate. To date, the train runs from about 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. on weekends, and 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on select weekdays, making all the scheduled stops at stations along the line. And yes, regular commuters can apparently get on this train. It just runs normally, in addition to delivering those food baskets to local community organizations that I mentioned. Since this is a public transport authority, well, cost-cutting does come into play. Most of the decorations are reused every year to save on money, and employees that work on it are doing so as a part of their regular schedules or volunteering their time. It actually almost got shut down by CTA President Frank Cruci after budget cuts in 2004, but they were overruled by CTA Board Chair Carol Brown, and for what I can tell, the Christmas train remains in operation to this very day. The Canadian Pacific Railway Holiday Train. This program was launched by Canadian Pacific in 1999 with the purpose of raising money and gathering food for communities across routes on Canadian Pacific's lines in Canada and the United States. It begins in Montreal on November 25th and 27th, respectively. 2 trains actually make the festive journey and travel to 164 communities along the network. The events surrounding the trains are actually free, but guests are encouraged to donate food and money to help address hunger needs in their own communities. Local food banks accept donations at each stop, and it's been astonishingly successful. Children adore the decorations and lights, and people from all over come to enjoy the festivities and donate. A sensational gesture from Canadian Pacific all around. The Christmas Train of Lights. This event occurs on the Heritage Dartmouth Steam Railway, and you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find a heritage railway that doesn't have a Christmas event around the world, or some kind of holiday thing, because frankly, it's just a good way to get people to come and spend money. But Dartmouth got my attention because, wow, that's incredible! The train is absolutely gorgeously decorated, with a multicolored light show that reflects off the neighboring river. The trip starts at Queen's Park Station in Paignton, and when the passengers arrive at Churston Station, they're treated to a sensational Christmas show, followed by another journey through the Greenway Tunnel into what they call the Enchanted Forest, which is also dolled up with a multitude of lights and brand new features. This one's less charity and more keeping the railway open. These sorts of events are very good for heritage railways because they bring people in and allow them to fund their own operations from year to year. The fact that Dartmouth goes all out on this is actually pretty impressive to me, though, and if I lived in the UK, it would definitely be a must-see in my mind. The BNSF Christmas Train, also called the Santa Claus Express. This train was actually kind of a legend when it came to US rail fans as a whole back in the 90s when it really operated. It was for and from volunteers working for the railway, and it was based in Springfield, Missouri. It would travel along the lines to various events and meet with onlookers, as well as allowing Santa to greet the children who came to look at the glowing train. This thing was decked out, an amazing event to witness firsthand. There's plenty of footage of it online, and you probably noticed I keep saying footage and 90s and yeah, they don't do it anymore. The train was actually retired. The last year I can confirm it ran was in 1999. Since then, BNSF hasn't hosted anything quite like this, though apparently they still do a sort of Christmas train, but it's not the same. This one has good intentions. It transports employees and families, as well as disabled children, from local hospitals up Cajun Pass and back down as a yearly event, but I mean, come on, look at this thing. Listen, BNSF, I appreciate the intent here, but I demand my Christmas trains have enough lights on them to be seen from Mars. This just doesn't look the same. I mean, is it nice? Yeah, I'm sure the kids still love it, but it doesn't have the same spirit as the one they used in the 90s did. I'm just asking for some lights here. I mean, anything. Just make it look a little pretty. All y'all did was hang a banner off the side of it. That's not the Christmas train. This is the Christmas train. You know you're lying to me. But hey, they're still doing something for the holidays. And if it's to brighten the spirits of disabled children, well, I guess I can't get that mad at it. Appalachia's Santa Claus Special. Now here's the big one, at least when it comes to America. The Santa Claus Special is sometimes just called the Santa Train, and believe me, that's really vague, because there's a lot of Santa trains, or Christmas trains, all over the place. Pretty much every heritage railway has something they call one of those two names every year. Like I said, everyone has an event, but they all can't have different names. But this one is not a heritage one. It's always been operated along main lines, and it began in 1943, during World War II. Christmas was coming, many people's sons were away fighting a war, and there wasn't a lot of good cheer going on during the holiday season. So the thought was, how can we give back to the local community, particularly in Appalachia, that was mining country, with a lot of coal needed for the war effort, and they'd work their butts off supplying it. This was prior to the Kingsport Chamber of Commerce, but businessmen from the area did form another association, the Kingsport Merchants Association. The thought was, well, what if we did a Santa train to make the families and the kids a lot happier during this trying time? They got a man by the name of Joe Higgins, who was the first Santa Claus on this train. He was the biggest guy, so he seemed fit for the role. And the effort was really simple. They just stuck Joe on the back as Santa, giving out candy to the crowds that came to see it. And by giving out, I mean just chucking candy. Just candy all over the place. Just throw the candy at the children. And it was fun. A lot of fun. So fun that it was an astonishing success. People loved it. And it lasted until, let me check my date. Oh, now. They still do it now. Yeah. Though it's not quite the same as it used to be. They don't throw the candy off anymore. Instead they do scheduled stops and hand the candy out. Does that sound like less fun? Maybe a little bit, but there were safety concerns. Basically, throwing the candy out was encouraging children to run on the train tracks, which, no. So they thought, before something bad happens, how about we change how we do this? Between 1942 and 1955, the train was part of the regular Clinchfield Railroad passenger service that ran throughout Appalachia, but after 55, it became its own unique route that was specifically for the Santa runs. It gained even more attention from around the country in 1968 when they restored a local steam locomotive and used that to pull the train. That pulled in a ton of people just to see that, and everyone came away appreciating what they'd been doing in Appalachia all this time. Nowadays it operates under CSX, but there was recent concern about bringing it back. And in fact, it didn't run at all in 2020 and 2021 because, well, pandemic. ruins everything. Supply chain issues made the whole thing uneconomical. Not that it ever was meant to be economical, but it was really uneconomical in those years. And administrators responsible for considering running the train felt it would be too difficult. This year, there was worry that it wouldn't show up again, since COVID wound up stopping a lot of things that still haven't really restarted the way they were. But fortunately, CSX decided this year, nah, Santa can come back, and it's running along lines in Appalachia, just as it has for 80 years, as I speak right now. And with that, a special thank you to all my underwater train finders. Thomas Ward, Some Dude 267, Orange Glass, Royal Hudson 2860, Lord Hoth 444, Benjamin Owens, Panzer Kitsu 191-222, Mr. Black Rose, Master of None, Josh Johnson, Metal for Life Guy, Anzac A1, Arthur Roy, DM Tribal Typhoon, Tommy Rossini, Lord Captain Von Thrust III, Joshua Long, Alaric Jaspers, Brian Pretzer, Jack Carson's Railroad Videos, Major Klutz, and Hayden DeGrow. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.